what is your first 90 days like if you're buying an existing one? And if you're not, what is your first 90 days like? What are the things you actually have to do? Because it's still kind of scary,
Hmm.
long sense. So I
Yep.
guess,
Uh, First 90 days, if I'm buying one, it's nice. I mean, this is where the franchise system helps because there is definitely support rather than just buying somebody's business. So when I bought mine, you have the franchise support, and then you have the seller who you can usually negotiate, hey, you stay on, I forget what my agreement was. I don't know, the first 60 days plus consulting after that. So my first 90 days, if you're buying a resale, would try not to, um, it's kind of chaotic because you're jumping in something that has existing customers. You're trying just not to screw it up, the top line or the customer experience or any of that like core fundamentals of the business. You want to at least keep it stable and not changing too much because you really don't know too much. And just trying not to screw it up and then learning all the systems and you know all the processes, the technical stuff. We're doing pest control, so you're kind of learning that. And there's all that stuff. You're really just learning, trying not to do anything too drastic and make sure you don't screw it up in the first 90 days, I think, for a resale. And then after that, although it is a franchise, it's definitely entrepreneurial. Um, there's a lot of discretion. So I just think in the first 90 days, you might not want to make too many changes outside of making sure it's stable and not screwing anything up. Is the I think I'm sure I screwed up some stuff, but I didn't screw up the top line core business.
so I guess, Siobhan, if you could tell us, like the first 90 days you're starting a new business, what exactly are you doing day to day? What are the most
Day to
important?
day is a lot of recruiting, being out, looking at you know kind of like on the ground networking type of situations, as well as looking for partners to help me find staff, right? I think one of the probably big advantages that Neil had coming into an existing business, he already had at least staff that were knowledgeable about the system and they're already in place. Whereas I had to find the staff, um, validate them, okay, and then deploy them, right? So that first 90 days was definitely a lot of interviewing, a lot of being out in the world, um, even somewhat looking for some of my competitors people and putting my business card on their trucks. So it's kind of a funny thing. But yeah, so it's a lot of recruiting and then also looking at my pricing. So definitely speaking with my we have a startup coach. So working with my franchise startup coach to make sure that my job announcements were there. Um, Again, talking to other franchise owners, to see how they validate qualified candidates, taking a candidate through that process, working with the various vendors. You got uniforms, I got trucks, I got truck wraps because we want to be in compliance. Plus, the wraps are like marketing, right? So those trucks are riding through the city, and people are like, oh my God, I was looking for an appliance repair company, and there's a truck. It's called Mr. Appliance. So it's very apparent what we do. So making sure all of those pieces are in place, understanding the systems. I think that that's one of the greatest things about coming into a franchise. They've like figured out a lot of the, system situations, things that you'd probably be spending a lot of time trying to figure out. With that, training up the staff, again, continuing my training so that I understand how this system works. And we were getting calls and trying to work through those calls. So yeah, so it was a lot of different pieces because there are a lot of pieces between credit card processors, making sure the credit cards, you got to get paid, right? Making sure those credit card payments are going through, and then just validating um, all of that, and even going on site with the guys so that I can see what that firsthand customer experience looks like.
What is the path to becoming profitable? So you mentioned that you put aside like money to kind of like sustain yourself before you do so. But if you could share a little bit more about this like journey to profitability.
So I will say that um, in that, again, I mentioned earlier, I spoke with one of there are a couple of owners that I do talk to, not on a regular basis, but every couple of months I do touch bases with them just to kind of get a temperature read of where I am compared to where they were at my stage, right? So when I first opened, that was one of the things, and I probably talk to them more often then than I do now, just to get kind of a gauge like, am I tracking correctly? Um, I do keep a lot of mentors around me. I do have a mentor that I was meeting with, I think, once a week or twice a week. He actually comes from the construction industry, and he and I put together, all of my expenses. And I'm like, okay, how many jobs do we need to do? How many, hours is this guy working? How many customers have I already seen? Do I think as we continue to do more marketing, how does this look? We did start a little bit in a low season. Um, when our peak hit, which we're in our peak now, that was like, wow, okay. And if profitability is fixed cost, I made my fixed cost within my first 90 days. And I may have even been a little bit over even with my adjusted costs, so like all of the extras. I think I actually had profit after that as well, if I'm not mistaken. So that was one of the markers. Again, when I was doing those validation calls, one of the owners that was on there, he's like, after 90 days, I hit that. And I was like, okay, boom, I hit it after like 90 days. Definitely by that 120th day, I was there. And I said, okay, I can make this work. And from there I just continued to work it. I will say that it is a cyclical thing. I'm just happy to say that even when I've heard that our industry is low, we've been a bit stable here in Chicago. So I don't know if it's a population density situation, or if we're just, you know doing a lot of marketing or whatever the case may be. But one thing that I do try to stay true to is, again, continuing to make sure that we're out in the community, making sure that people know that we're here, and just kind of driving that home, and just like I said, really trying to be involved so that the local area know that we are. So we run marketing and print, all of social, our like Googles and all of that good stuff, and Yelps and next door. I'll even run radio ads because we do. My territory does consist of a lot of office spaces, so trying to get those office people. So I constantly am looking at what audience have we not touched, or what audience do we want to touch.
You mentioned that you were trying like not to mess up the existing incoming revenue, but how
Mhm.
did you increase the profits over time?
Um, yeah, I just think a lot of it blocking and tackling, a lot of what Siobhan said. I think I did after talking to neighboring franchisees with the same brand and similar territory and similar, economics. Um, the 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 territory I bought was under earning on revenue. Um, so just a little stepping on the gas, just all around, whether it's getting Google reviews, whether it's spending, the pay-per-click or sending postcards or hitting up old leads. Just a lot of blocking and tackling and, day after day showing up, taking some shots here and there on different marketing I don't know if there's one thing, but it's really just kind of grinding every day and looking for ways to grow the business. Um, Important thing is, what it's important to know, what's a customer worth, and then you can kind of make those bets and try to grow it. If you kind of know the numbers of the business, it gives you confidence to invest in the marketing. Um, and so I think just a lot of that helped grow the revenue, just knowing the numbers and then doing it.
Cool. So sort of the lifetime value of a customer and any
That
marketing that your cost of acquisition is lower. Perfect.
all
Excellent.
that stuff. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like knowing how long a customer lasts, how much revenue, what's your margin on a customer, and then saying, okay, that avenue is getting me, X amount of leads at X price, and if you convert it, and you can play that game all day. Knowing those numbers really helps to help you make decisions on the marketing.